Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. After a extended break, I was away and then I wasn't well, but Baruch Hashem, we're back now. I'll just say, I think next Wednesday morning there will not be a Gemara shiur because we have a special pre-Chanukah Yom Yun, which is starting a little bit earlier. So there was not going to be time to give the Gemara shiur on Wednesday, but Bezrat Hashem will be back on Thursday, and then so we'll be back more or less to regular schedule. I have to see what happens over Chanukah, but we should be more or less on the regular schedule. Okay. So we're in the Gemara Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph. We did see the beginning of the Mishnah, but it's been a while. So let's see again. With the Mishnah on the top of the Daf, top of the Amud, says, "Mevi'im meitzim min hasadeh min hamechunas u'min hakalpef afilu min hamefuzar." We're talking, continuing on this theme of gathering wood, muktzah, etc., on Yom Tov. Of course, you cannot gather wood on Shabbat, we know, but on Yom Tov you can. And this was very relevant because we know that you're allowed to cook on Yom Tov, so it's not like nowadays nowadays you have all sorts of questions. Lots of people don't cook on Yom Tov for the simple reason that turning on the oven or turning off, etc. You get into different questions. There are different mechanisms and timers, and there are questions of operating electricity and setting flames, etc. But the actual malacha of cooking you're allowed to do, as we've discussed many times. And one of the reasons is everybody knows there's nothing quite like, the taste of a freshly cooked schnitzel is not the same as the schnitzel that was cooked yesterday and was reheated on the hot plate. And therefore, you're allowed to cook, and it's a good thing to cook on Yom Tov if you can do it in a permissible way. So in the days of the Gemara, how did people cook? So they had a stove or an oven, whatever it was, how did you didn't have knobs or electric devices, but you had a fire. So you need wood to fuel the fire in order to cook. Or for whatever other purpose you may need a fire. So this is very common. So our Mishnah is dealing with the question of where you can get wood from, where you can collect the wood that's not going to be muktzah. So we said mevi'im eitzim min hasadeh on Daf Lamed Aleph Amud Aleph at the top. Mevi'im eitzim min hasadeh min hamechunas u'min hakarpef. Of course, the question here is how do we punctuate the Mishnah? We bring wood from the field, from that which was already gathered together, and from the karpef. Does that mean, we'll discuss in a moment exactly what a karpef is, but does that mean you can bring wood from the field or from that which is gathered together? Or does it mean, which is probably the reading, right? You can bring wood from the field from that which is gathered, meaning minasadeh min hamechunas, are not two separate not two separate things, but that is one. Meaning wood that's in the field, it's been gathered together. And their idea is you already gathered it together from Erev Yom Tov, and therefore you're showing there's no muktzah. Rashi says, "Mevi meitzim atlushim min hasadeh shebetoch hatchum b'Yom Tov." Okay, obviously we're dealing with wood which has been detached. If it's still connected to the trees, etc., that would be a different malacha of kotzer, which is not allowed even on Yom Tov. But it's wood that is detached. It's in the field. It's inside the tchum. Right. So min hamechunas. Im knasom erev Yom Tov, you gather it together before Yom Tov. The galei date dalayu samich. You are showing that you have in mind to come back and use it on Yom Tov. Eino muktzeh. Therefore, no muktzeh. Avalam fuzalin muktzeh. However, that which is scattered, just scattered wood in the field, that I would not be allowed to go and assemble together on Yom Tov. As you can see, Rashi over here understands the problem is muktzeh. There are other Rishonim. Tosa, for example, raises the issue of what about maybe it's a different melacha of amer. There is a machloket of it's not a melacha. It's not so common nowadays, but of gathering up, gathering together, and it says potentially that would be the machloket of the melacha of ma'amer. Explains why it's not. But okay, so that is first case. And also, you could gather it up from a karpef. A karpef is a certain area which is enclosed. Okay, afilu min hamefuzar. So if you have in a field which is open, so all the wood that's in the field that's scattered in different places, so that we hold to be muktzeh. However, if it's all gathered together, you gathered it together before Yom Tov, you're showing that it's designated. In a karpef, which is an enclosed area, seemingly I don't need to do such a thing because it's already enclosed in the first place. I have that in mind that I'm going to go into the karpef and take the wood from there as well. So therefore, inside, even if it's mefuzar, says Rashi min karpef, shehu mishtamer umukaf it's guarded and it's surrounded, or it's enclosed, saviv, afilu mefuzalim shebo lo iktzah midato. Therefore, there, because it's guarded and enclosed, even that which is scattered, we say is not muktzah. Okay. Ezehu kapef. So when we say we talk about a kapef, what exactly are we talking about? How do we define that? Um, two opinions. Kol shesamuch la'ir, divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi omer, kol שנכנסים בפותחת ואפילו בתוך תחום שבת. So, Rabbi Yehuda says, what is the karpef that we're talking about? In other words, what is the karpef? Where is this enclosure that I'm saying that if there is wood in such an enclosure, I have in mind that it's designated and therefore will not be muktzah on Shabbos? So on Yom Tov, sorry. So Rabbi Yehuda says, kol shesamuch la'ir, anything that's close to the city. How close exactly? We have to understand. But anything that is nearby, right? I have in mind to go and get wood from places that are nearby, and I don't have in mind to go and get wood from places that are far away. I'm going to have to carry it and schlep it on Yom Tov. So anything that is close to the city, that is Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi Omer, kol שנכנסים בפותחת, ואפילו בתוך תחום שבת. Rabbi Yossi says any place, any kapef that you have to go into with a key, it's locked with a gate, and you need a key to get into it, so it's protected. That is the kapef that we're talking about. Afilu b'toch tchum Shabbat. So Rashi told us at the beginning it has to be obviously inside the tchum Shabbat, but tchum Shabbat can be very far. Right? It's 2,000 amah from the edge of the city. So therefore, Rabbi Yossi seems to say even though it's further away. Now, there's two ways you could read Rabbi Yossi here, and the Gemara is going to discuss this. When Rabbi Yossi says kol shenechnasino b'potachat, does he mean to say? Is he coming to add onto Rabbi Yehuda and saying, no, anything that's nearby, but also that it's locked? Or is he coming to add, to say something else? Is he coming to say, yes, anything that's nearby, even if it's not locked, that would be okay. But also, anything that's locked, even if it's further away, would also be okay. In other words, we could read Rabbi Yossi as being machmir on Rabbi Yehuda, or we could read him as being mekel, adding something else. So the Gemara towards the end of the Amud will discuss that and explain. Rashi just says, "Afilu b'toch tchum Shabbat b'sofo." In other words, what he means to say is, even if it's much further away, the idea is again, which wood? Where do I say that a person has got sort of designated in their mind, so I can understand why if it's closer that would be designated. And Rabbi Yossi is saying maybe even if it's further away, but the fact is that it's under lock and key, so therefore it's guarded, so therefore that would be designated as well. Says now the Gemara. Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. Ein mevim metzim ela min hamechunasim shebakalpev. So, Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, we can only bring wood from, it has to be in the mechunas, meaning it has to be gathered together, and it has to be inside the karpef, inside this area which is enclosed. Now hang on, we said in the Mishnah, we said the opposite. We said you could either bring wood that has been gathered together in the field, or even wood that is scattered inside the karpef. Meaning, I only need one of those conditions: either it's gathered together, or it's in the karpef. Comes Rabbi Yehuda Mashma, and he says, "No, I need both. It has to be mechunas, and it has to be in the karpef." So says the Gemara V'hanan Tanan. Mina karpef afilu min afuzalin. Says, what are you saying, Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel? We learned in the Mishnah that you could bring it even from the karpef, and even when it says scattered, you don't have to gather it together. So matnitin yechidai. So our Mishnah is a dat yachid. Our Mishnah is a lone opinion, right? The Tanya. How do we know? Because we have a bright that says, Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar lo nechlaku beit Shammai beit Hillel al המפוזרים שבשדות שאין מביאים, ועל המכונסים שבקרפף שמביאים. Right, so the Braita says like this: Rav Shimon and Elazar teaches that we have a machloket between Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel regarding which wood is you can go, which is muktzah and which isn't. So he says everybody agrees, Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel, there's no question. That which is mefuzar in the sadeh, right, that which is scattered in the field. So everybody agrees. Obviously, that is muktzah that you can't go and take. And also, Um, sorry. לא נגלו בית שמאי בדירה על המפוזרים שבשדות שאין מביאים, right? They both agree, there's no מחלוקת regarding מפוזר in the שדה, that you cannot bring, ועל המכונסים שבקלפף שמביאים, and that which is gathered together inside the karpef, everybody agrees that you can, that's not muktzah, okay? So מה נחלקו? What is the machloket between Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai? על המפוזרים שבקלפף ועל המכונסים שבשדות. Right, on the two middle cases, right? That which is mefuzar in the karpef, that which is scattered but it's in the enclosed area, or alam chonasin shebesadot, or that which is gathered together but it's in the field. In other words, where there is only one advantage, but it's missing both. Shebeit Shammai omrim lo yavi. Beit Shammai say no, you can't bring it. That's going to be muktzah. Beit Hillel omrim yavi, and Beit Hillel say you can. Okay, so therefore, what do we see? That in fact, very, very strange, and our Mishnah follows which opinion? Sorry, according to that, so therefore, what's he saying? Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar understands that Beit Hillel are saying that mefuzalim shebakarpef and mechuna shebasadeh that you can bring, but essentially we're saying that's how Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar understands the machloket of Beit Hillel and Beit Shammai. And therefore, our Mishnah follows the opinion of Beit Hillel according to Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar. But the Gemara is saying that Rabbi Shimon ben Lazar, that is a Da'at Yachid. That is a Da'at Yachid. And essentially, the Gemara is suggesting that we'd have to be Machmir in such a case. Okay, the next case now that the Gemara brings as follows: Amar Rava, alei kanim va'alei kfanim. So you have sort of leaves of reeds and leaves of vine. Okay, these are small leaves or twigs, and these are going to be different. These are going because they are very very small. So we say the following: Afal gav, you could just as well use these as part of your wood for your fire, but afal gav the makan feluhu umotve. Even though you gathered these up together before Yom Tov and you put them in one place. Kevan de'i madle zika mevadelu. Since there's going to be a wind, right? Zika is a wind. There's going to be a wind that's going to come and it's going to scatter them all over the place. Okay, yeah, if you have big sticks and logs, etc., you put them in one place, they're going to stay there. But these, you put them there, there's going to be a wind, they're going to get scattered all over the place. Kim fuzalim damu. Therefore, we view them as if they are mefuzar, even though you gather them all up together, and ve'asurim, and they are going to be forbidden. Ve'i atnach mana me'etmol alayu shafir dami. However, if you brought a kli, right, and you covered them up in order so that they wouldn't scatter in the wind, right? Atnach mana me'etmol alayu from before Yom Tov. You place that kli there and cover them up, then shafir dami. Then it's going to be acceptable, and then it's going to be fine. All right. So then we saw now, we're at the two dots, we were halfway down the Amud. We saw in the Mishnah the discussion of Ezu Karpef. Right? Ezu Karpef, we said, Kol shesamuch la'ir divrei Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosamer kol shenechlasin al bepotachat, afilu b'toch tchum Shabbat. So I alluded to the question here of the Gemara. It says, Ibailahu. Now ask the following question. Hechi kamar, kol shesamuch la'ir, v'hu de'it lei potachat, V'ata Rabbi Yossi lameima kevan di'ile potachat afilu b'toch tchum Shabbat nami. I'm going to read through and then we'll go back and explain. Or Dilma, that's one way of reading. Or maybe achi kama kol shesamuch la'ir bein de'it lei potachat bein de'leit lei potachat. V'ati Rabbi Yossi lameima afilu b'toch tchum Shabbat v'davka di'ile potachat aval leit lei potachat afilu samuch la'ir nami lo. Okay, so let's see. The question is two ways of reading the Mishnah, two ways of understanding how we understand what Rabbi Yehuda says. And based on how we understand Rabbi Yehuda, it's going to change how we understand Rabbi Yossi. So Rabbi Yossi said that a karpef is kol shesamuch le'ir. It's an enclosed area, anywhere that's near to the city. So the Gemara asks as follows: Ibailu. Hey, what did Rabbi Yehuda come to say? Does he mean option number one, kol shesamuch la'ir, v'hu te'it le'potachat? Rabbi Yehuda doesn't say anything about whether this karpef has got a key, whether it's locked up or not. So our question is, when he says that it's kol shesamuch le'er, does he mean kol shesamuch le'er and it has a key, right? It's locked up. That's the first option. Kol shesamuch le'er v'hud it le'potachat, meaning Rabbi Yehuda essentially requires two, that it's nearby the city and that it's locked. And then when Rabbi Yossi comes along and says no, just anywhere that's locked, after Rabbi Yossi lemeimar, he comes to say kevan de'id le'potach, and he says no, since it's already got a key, afilu b'toch tchum Shabbat nami. So therefore, wherever it is in Tchum Shabbat, I don't care, but it's that's okay. Because the fact, in other words, it's implied in Rabbi Yehuda's words, it's implied that his case is one where it has a lock, and since it has a lock, that's enough. That's enough for me to have designated that area in my mind, and therefore it doesn't matter how far away it is. That's option number one. Or Dilma, but perhaps maybe we could read it differently. Maybe it means to say as follows: Achikamar kol shesamuch la'il bein de'et le'potachat bein de'leit le'potachat. In other words, this is maybe how we sort of read it intuitively the first time. Maybe it means to say as follows: Rabbi Yehuda says kol shesamuch la'il. Rabbi Yehuda didn't mention anything about whether it has a key or doesn't have a key, so it's locked, it's unlocked. It says kol shesamuch la'il. That's all. That's all that matters. So therefore, he says kol shesamuch la'il. Whether it has a key or whether it doesn't have a key, that doesn't matter. And then v'ata Rabbi Yossi lemeimar. So then Rabbi Yossi comes to say what? That Rabbi Yossi lemeimar afilu betoch tchum Shabbat v'dafka de'it le'potachat. So Rabbi Yossi comes along and says no. He says it doesn't have to be samuch. It can be anywhere within the tchum Shabbat. However, it needs something that you didn't say, Rabbi Yehuda, which is dafka de'it le'potachat. Aval leit le'potachat, but if it doesn't have a key, so then filu samuch le'enamilo. So then, even if it's close to the city, the answer would be then it would still be forbidden, right? So those are two ways of reading our Mishnah. Either we say, right, Rabbi Yehuda just mentioned the fact that it's samuch, that it's close. He didn't mention anything about a key. So the first way of reading is Rabbi Yehuda says that it's close. But it needs to have a key as well. And therefore, Rabbi Yossi comes to be Mekel. He says, no, once it's got the key, that's enough. It doesn't have to be close. It can be even further away, anywhere within the Tchum Shabbat. Second option is to say, no, Rabbi Yehuda just said it has to be close. Whether it's got, according to this, Rabbi Yehuda is the one who's Mekel. He says it has to be close. I don't need a key or not a key or anything. Rabbi Yossi comes along and says, no, you need a key. And you need a key. If you don't have a key, even if it's close, then it's not. Then it's going to be muktzah. It doesn't help. So which one is it? So says the Gemara Tashma. Let's bring a proof as follows. Tashma midiktani Rabbi Yossi Omer kol shenichnasin lo bepotachat ve'afilu betoch tchum Shabbat shma mina Rabbi Yossi tarti lekula. From the fact that Rabbi Yossi says, the proof is from his language. He says kol anywhere that you can enter with a key, and even if it's within the Tchum Shabbat, okay. So in other words, anywhere that's his language makes it sound very much like he's coming to add on a case to be lenient, and therefore we say Rabbi Yossi tarti lekula kama shma mina. We learn from this that yes, Rabbi Yossi is coming to be lenient. He's going to add on a case. So according to Rabbi Yossi, either if it is samuch la'ir without a key, or if it's within the Tchum Shabbat further away but with a key. So what we learn from this is that Rabbi Yossi is coming to be lenient, and we learn from that therefore what is implied in the words of Rabbi Yehuda. The Rabbi Yehuda says samuch, but it has to have a key as well.
Kenigsberg.
Yes.
If they didn't mention Tchum Shabbos, wouldn't we automatically know it anyway that they could bring in the wood from the area surrounding the city?
Yes. So that was the first Rashi on the Mishnah, right? The first Rashi on the Mishnah, he says, "Hatlushim min hasadeh shebetoch hatchum b'yom tov." It has to be within the tchum. But what Rabbi Yossi is saying is that Rabbi Yehuda said it has to be close. It has to be like right next to the city. Rabbi Yossi is saying it doesn't have to be so close. It can be anywhere within the tchum. You
Mm.
can go to the edge of the tchum, and from there you can bring in the wood. But you can't go outside the tchum to bring it. That's still going to be a problem of muktzah.
That's a new sort of din because on Shabbos we could only walk at Chum Shabbos. We couldn't carry him.
Yeah, but on Shabbos you can't carry at all. But we're not talking about Shabbos. We're talking about Yom Tov.
It's a restriction on your carrying ability. Only within the Chum Shabbos, or can you carry anywhere?
No, so on Shabbat, so if there's no Eruv, you can't carry anywhere. But
Right.
but but you can't walk, you can't leave the Tchum Shabbat. Now we're talking about Yom Tov. So
Yeah.
carrying itself is not an issue, but you also have a problem of Tchum. But carrying, so the point is that anywhere that's within the Tchum, you can carry. Now carrying in and of itself is not a Melacha on Yom Tov, as we've learned. But the issue is that the wood itself, we still have an issue of Muktzah. So the wood itself, so how far can we go? So Rabbi Yehuda says that so long as this karpef in this area which is enclosed and it's got the wood inside, it needs to be close to the city. And Rabbi Yossi is saying no, it doesn't have to be so close. It's still relatively close. It's in the tchum, right? But it doesn't have to be so close. But you can go to the edge of the tchum, and from there you can bring, and that's fine.
So really it's an issue of muktzah.
Yes, yes. That's the whole issue. The whole issue is one of muktzah. Do I say that this wood I would not have had in my mind? I wouldn't have had a second thought to go and carry it, and therefore it's not designated, and therefore it's not muktzah. Or do I say no, that it's in an area that's an indication that I might have thought of that I might have thought of bringing it? So if it's an area that is enclosed and it's under lock and key, so I might have thought I know on Erev Yom Tov there's a lot to do. I have to right, I have to cook and this and that or whatever. I have to get the house ready and I have to get the family ready, etc. I don't have time now to go out and collect the firewood. But I know that on Yom Tov I can go and I can collect the firewood and then we can carry on and keep the fire going and carry on cooking the cholent or whatever it is. Or the schnitzels or okay. So the question is, can you go and get wood from anywhere? And the answer is no. If you've done either, we said either if it's in the open field, it's in the open field and I've gone and I've gathered up this wood before Yom Tov, so then I've shown that there's this pile of wood and that's what I want to go and get. Okay. But if it's not in the open field, if it's in this karpef, which is an enclosed area, so that makes sense. I know there's an enclosed area and now I'm going to go and collect my firewood. Question is, which enclosed area? Does it have to have a key or does it have to be right? So essentially what comes out of this, what seems to be the conclusion is that Rabbi Yossi is Mekel, but Rabbi Yehuda is Machmir. According to Rabbi Yehuda, I need both that it's close to the city and that it's under lock and key. According to Rabbi Yossi, once it's under lock and key, that's fine, so long as it's anywhere inside the tchum. Okay, so that's the conclusion of the Gemara. It says Shema Mina, Rabbi Yossi Talti lekula kama Shema Mina. Rabbi Yossi says both two indications for to be maker. And then Amar Rav Sala, Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah Lachak Rabbi Yossi Lahakel. Rav Sala says in the name of Rabbi Yirmiyah that we follow the halacha follows Rabbi Yossi, and that we are makel in this regard. Okay, so that's it. We'll stop there for today, with your permission. Everybody should have a wonderful day and Shabbat Shalom. And as I say, next Wednesday, just because of the Yom Yun, is starting a little bit early, so we won't have time for the shiur, but we will be back next Thursday, Bezrat Hashem.
Okay.
Hey, thank you very much, Rabbi.
Tom
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Shabbat shalom.
Likewise.
You should all
Shabbat
feel
Shalom.
well.